Will the Pokemon TCG die with us? What does the future hold for Pokemon cards? What up? Welcome back to Pokeching. I hope you guys are all doing well. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the future of the Pokemon TCG. One of the biggest questions I've had for the past few months is what happens if prices for the Pokemon TCG product remains really high and product accessibility remains really low for a prolonged period of time. Considering that prices are really high, we're talking roughly, $8 to $10 a pack for most sets. Product is really difficult to find. Are parents really going to be buying this product for their kids to enjoy? If they find it, first of all, the prices are really high. So that's probably going to be online, secondary market, TCG conventions, and so on. And if they can't find the product in store, how are the kids going to get access to the product? Maybe there are kids that have access to pocket money, but they still can't afford it at $10 a pack and prefer to buy other things with their money. So how does really low product availability and really high prices create longevity for the Pokemon TCG? Who will be coming back due to nostalgia if nobody has those core memories in the first place? Although the initial Pokemon craze came out of nowhere, Pokemon is something that is somewhat passed on from parents to kids nowadays. And if the kids of today grew up without being exposed to Pokemon cards today, in the future, will they really have something to pass on to their own kids? Will they have that Pokemon card passion that they want to pass on? I'm not too sure. And you may be thinking, if us as kids, we got interested by Pokemon cards, why wouldn't kids of today get interested by Pokemon cards? And to that, I would answer that we had much less in terms of distractions when Pokemon came to our part of the world from Japan in 1999. So for 90s kids, I was born in 1992 by the way, so I was 7 years old when Pokemon really became part of my childhood. We were riding around on our bikes, we were climbing trees, we were, playing pretty basic video games, which were really social experiences, playing Mario Kart where there was like multiple of us in one room just sitting playing the game, or Super Smash Bros, or trading Pokemon and Pokemon Gold and Silver, or Red and Blue and Yellow. We had a much simpler life back then. We also had TV shows, of course, but nothing like today where there's an endless amount of TV shows, movies, apps on our mobile phones, short-form content. Today we have social media, internet on the tips of our fingers, and our attention spans are lacking more and more due to short-form content. So with all that, you could say that the kids of today still have, the video games and other forms of Pokemon media to keep them interested, which is true. But in a world that is increasingly digital, I do wonder if kids will be as interested in the physical Pokemon cards if they aren't exposed to them at a young age. I mean, that's when those core memories are created. I remember trading certain cards, opening certain packs. I remember exactly where it was, what the weather was like, what I did that day. There are so many really important memories that I clearly remember that are attached to opening those physical packs and going in store to actually buy those, rather than just opening your app, switching on TCG Pocket, opening up a few packs digitally, bim bam boom, that's it, done. Really quick, really accessible, you don't have to move. You have other forms of social media, other things to distract you. So when there's so many things that grab your attention, if you're not exposed to Pokemon cards physically, because they're accessible, because the prices are reasonable, because your parents are actually encouraged to buy them for you, then maybe you won't actually be interested in the first place. Once again, there are so many things that are distracting nowadays. And I'll be 100% honest, if I wasn't exposed to Pokemon cards and the initial games, when I was a kid, I probably wouldn't be interested today. If there was a massive boom, and there was a boom, there was the Pokemon craze, but things were still accessible. But if there was like a huge bull run when I was a kid, and it went on for, year and a half, 2 years, maybe 3 years, who knows how long it's gonna last, probably not 3 years, but you never know. If that happened, maybe I would have just missed that window where I was interested in that sort of thing, and I would have moved on to other things. And maybe then, at that young age where your brain is still kind of like in the discovery phase, I would have discovered other things that would have been really important to me and nostalgic to me today. But luckily it was Pokemon at that time, and that is what I enjoy today. But if you miss that window, so for the kids of today, if this bull run goes on for 2 years, that's 2 years of kids that are in that kind of age where they're starting to really like certain things, discover certain things, creating those really important memories with certain things. if you miss that window, maybe those are the kids in the future that won't really care about Pokemon and won't be introducing it to their kids when they have them. For me, Pokemon, and mainly Pokemon cards, are a part of who I am. Not a day goes by, and I'm serious when I say this, not a day goes by where I don't think about something, some memory from my childhood related to Pokemon. And that creates a really strong bond between me and the Pokemon, and mostly the Pokemon cards. And I know a lot of you out there probably feel the same thing as me. You're probably in the same boat. You know, you had similar memories to me at a similar age, and now, you know, you're 30, 32, 34, whatever it may be. I'm almost 34. And, you know, those memories are so important, and you just know it's like a part of you. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, I'm sure of it. And what I'm thinking about, what I'm worried about, is that that deep connection will eventually be lost if time goes on for too long without accessible product and prices being too high. Once again, if the kids can't access the cards today, when are those really strong memories and nostalgic memories going to be created? You know, once again, I remember trading cards on the bus. I remember finding them in stores and begging my parents to buy me a pack or two. Those memories are real, and I was lucky enough to have those. But kids of today may not have that same experience. Something else you have to pay attention to is who is pre-ordering these sets at really high prices. Who is spending lots of time at trading card conventions. From what I've seen, most of the time you do have a lot of adults, and I do include myself in that. You know, certain sets I will buy, even if they are expensive, because I believe in them. So I am kind of part of that. But we do need to pay attention to who the main customer is today, who has the money to access the product. A lot of the time it is adults, you know, late 20s, early 30s, even beyond sometimes. You know, we're the ones that are really fueling this hobby at the moment. I've heard countless stories of people at conventions saying that, you know, the vendors are the ones that are selling to one another. You know, obviously you do have customers buying things, but a lot of the time it's just kind of trading hands from one vendor to another, prices eventually kind of going up. And it's really an adult-focused hobby at the moment for the TCG. And you do see kids, you know, you do have parents that, you know, bring their kids along with them to kind of introduce them to Pokemon cards and that hobby, because their parents, you know, are like me. They have those memories as kids, but, you know, there's going to be a smaller number. I mean, you can't really argue that with the current prices and product accessibility, you know, there are going to be less kids exposed to this. And, you know, once again, if your parents aren't bringing you to conventions and kind of showing you the Pokemon TCG, then you're probably not going to grow up with those memories and want to kind of share that with your own kids down the line. And so it's for sure that, you know, there are many kids that are just not being exposed to Pokemon trading cards, and that it probably will have somewhat of an impact in the future, if things go on for too long, of course. Just to go back to my childhood once again, and the same childhood that many of you guys probably experienced, is that I remember Pokemon being the one and only thing that I was really obsessed with, you know? I wasn't distracted by all sorts of other things. My attention wasn't being grabbed left and right. You know, it was an undiluted experience. And by undiluted, I mean it wasn't polluted by all of the social media, all of the TV shows, all of the other things, you know? There are so many things that you can enjoy today and that you can get hooked on. And, you know, Pokemon is one of the biggest media franchises in the world. It is the biggest media franchise in the world, actually. And of course, it gives it some power. It gives it some exposure. But there are many other things that kids can be interested in today. And you can't forget the impact, or can't underestimate the impact that, you know, a 2-year period without accessible product can have on, you know, kids that are just going to go on to other things. They're going to start enjoying other things, and they're going to become their memories and their thing that they really like. So don't underestimate the impact that this can have on the hobby. So I just think it's something that was worth considering, worth talking about. I don't know why I've been thinking about this so much. I hope my ideas were kind of clear throughout the video. I don't know if I kind of jumped from one thing to the next. Sometimes do that because I'm thinking about all sorts of things at the same time. But the biggest question is, does the Pokemon hobby, TCG anyway, does it die with us? Are we the last ones that are really going to have that true connection, unpolluted connection to Pokemon and Pokemon cards? Are we the last ones that are going to really hold it near and dear to our hearts, and you remember it as one of the most memorable things from our childhoods? Maybe, I don't know. I guess only time will tell. But yeah, give me your thoughts in the comments down below. Once again, I hope this video kind of made sense. I hope it was interesting. I don't know if many of you guys have been thinking about this as well. I do often think about that. I do often think about the impact that all this can have on kids. I'm not only focused on my situation, but I do think about the future, you know, like, in any case, I'll enjoy it. I love Pokemon, I love Pokemon cards, and I don't really care if anyone else likes it, and I know people will always like it. It's not for nothing that it's #1 media franchise in the world. But yeah, I do wonder, you know, for the Pokemon TCG, are the kids of today really going to love it as much as we do? Are those memories going to be as strong with the lack of exposure? I don't know. But anyway, let me know once again, comments down below. Feel free, I love to read your comments, and I do reply to your comments as well. And yeah, if you do enjoy these kinds of videos, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell if you want to join the Kaching gang and be notified for future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this video was interesting, that you maybe think about things differently now, and let's just hope that the Pokemon TCG or the Pokemon Company can get control over the situation and make Pokemon great again. Man, that would be amazing. So, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care, peace out, bye!